Well, good morning or good evening, everybody, depending on where you're joining us from. I welcome you to our webinar today. We're really excited to share some insights about Basis International School, Park Lane Harbour, one of our schools that we do have in southern China. So my name is Tim Smith, and I'm Vice President of Global Talent for the Basis International Schools. And it's my pleasure to be able to get to host our webinar here today. And today, we have some individuals that will be presenting with us. We'll hear from John Quirk, who is the head of school at Park Lane Harbour. We'll also hear from Dr. Kevin Jaramillo, who is the vice head of school. We then also have Michael Holtquist, who is our recruiter who works specifically with this school, share some insights specific to working with Basis and position with us. But to start things off, it gets to be my pleasure to touch on the agenda. So today we'll cover insights on the school itself. We will also then cover some of the details about working with Basis International Schools as a whole and what it means to be a part of our network and what that looks like. We'll touch on the benefits and visa requirements of working with us in China. And then we do have a Q&A session at the end. So one thing that I do want to share is that at the bottom of your screen, there's a Q&A button. And on the Q&A, you should be able to then click the Q&A. And any questions you have, please do submit those questions to us. And then we'll be able to answer the questions at the end of the presentation. With that said, it's my pleasure to introduce John Quirk. So John Quirk is the head of school at Basis International Park Lane Harbour. And John, welcome. We appreciate you joining us today and look forward to having you share your insights on your school and some of the great things there. So John, welcome.
Great, Tim. Thanks so much for that introduction. I'll kind of start where Tim started with a hearty good morning or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Here at our school, as I'm sitting in my office, there are 900 kids running around getting ready to head to class, and all the teachers and all that. So it's we're in the middle of our start here, even though many of you are probably at the end of your days. It's great to have you with us. We have a lot of things to share about our school, about Basis schools in general. Then why don't we go ahead and get started with that? Tim, why don't you slide us over to the next slide? So as you can see, Basis International School, Park Lane Harbour, is this little kind of jewel of education, kind of pressed into a mountainside, very eco-friendly campus, very interesting lines, and this kind of very interesting setting that we live in. We're in the side of a mountain, kind of looking down over the two towns really that we're closest to, and then off in the distance, kind of as if you were looking back through the camera, through the angle of this slide, you'd find yourself looking down at the ocean. So really a pretty incredible spot here. This campus was the first fully purpose-built campus of the Basis schools. Many have opened great other campuses since then, but ours is pretty special here on the side of the hill. So as I mentioned, our school was one of the first Basis schools. We were the fourth to open. We opened in 2018. We are really we were one of the first to offer weekday boarding. Kids come Sunday night and they leave on Friday night. We really have since grown to be the fullest, truest boarding school in the network. We have about 900 students, and well more than 600 of those are students that live here with us during the week. The boarders are all grades 5 through 12, though the campus, the whole school is pre-K through 12. This gives us kind of a special flair, right? We work pretty hard during the academic day, but as those of you who have been around boarding schools know, having the kids around all the time means a very busy campus. Sports and clubs and evening activities and performances and lots of opportunities to interact with kids in what I think of as kind of the unscripted part of our work, beyond our academic schedules. Very satisfying that way. We had our first graduates way back in 2021 and have been very successful in placing students. You'll see later on in one of the slides, a very high percentage of our students go to top 20 or top 30 Western universities. Almost 100% of our students go to top 50s. And we've been very gratified in the last 2 years, especially to find kids heading to all those great top 20 schools, but especially to places like MIT and Princeton. Princeton, really the top school in that list, but no one has the portfolio value that Harvard had and we were very pleased last year, 2 years ago, to get the first Harvard acceptances from any Basis Network school. So this is this slide that you're looking at is kind of a little bit of a mishmash of different views of the campus. But if you begin in the upper right hand corner, you would see a slice of our canteen. We're generally regarded as the school that has, of the Basis schools, that has the best food here. Our chef is awesome. Needs to be at boarding school. We eat a lot of meals there together. In the upper left-hand corner, you'd see a view of really the top of our, we have a great athletic facility here, athletic facilities here, and that blue, those couple of blue basketball courts you see are the rooftop of our gym complex. We also have an inside gym and pool and weight room and dance room. Our athletic facilities are really terrific. The thing that's interesting about that upper left-hand pictures, I can't ever remember seeing it empty. It's a place kids really hang out. There's always kids there playing foursquare or basketball or running around or doing whatever it is they do. The bottom middle slide is a view from the lower canteen. There's two places to have meals here, an outdoor one and an indoor one. And you can see it's kind of very cafe-like looking out across the campus, across the reflecting pond there. I really want to highlight the bottom right hand corner is our observatory. All Basis schools have, these are the types of facilities that Basis schools have, right? We're very well resourced. Our observatory is probably the best utilized on the network. We're a little bit outside of the city. It's quieter at night here. The air is very clear here in Park Lane Harbour. And there's not much in the way of light pollution. There's some, but not as much as, say, in the middle of the heart of Shenzhen. And this is a really fun facility. We have a great, I would describe him as kind of a mad scientist astronomy teacher. He's always in there. Kids are always in there. I find that very appealing as an educational leader. Kids spend a lot of time looking kind of down and in here. What are they doing in their classes? I like very much that a fair number of our kids, more days than not, are kind of looking up and out at the world. One of our promises at Basis is expanded perspectives. Where more could you expand your perspectives than by looking up at the universe? That's a pretty cool thing, unique thing here at our campus. So I mentioned it showed you quite a bit about in a short amount of time about some of our facilities. A thing you should really know is our facilities are great here. We're very, very well resourced, but we don't actually think of them as our best assets. Great teachers, great school leaders know, your buildings, your stuff, the things that you have, you're grateful to have them, but it's the people in them that give them life. And by far our best assets are not our facilities. It's our teachers and our students and our staff. We have really great folks here. Teachers, there's about 85 expat teachers from the West, primarily, as the thing says, the UK, Canada, Australia, but we're quite diverse too. We have folks from all over the world there. In addition, there's about a dozen Chinese teachers who teach Chinese language and culture. The language of instruction is English. Our kids are highly, highly proficient in English, especially by the time they get to high school. And really remarkably proficient that way. I'm teaching an AP literature class right now, and I've taught this class many times in my life and in my career in America. I don't think I've had a stronger class, and though they're working in their second language, you wouldn't know it if you were looking through the door. So our teachers are very professional and committed. We think of ourselves as sort of a family here. All schools, they have great communities. We think we have an exceptional one. Teachers who want to learn and grow in their craft, teachers who want to learn and grow in their community and be a part of their community. We're pretty tight here. It seems like a silly way to say it, but Park Lane Harbour, we're very tight together as an adult group. I mentioned students. I've said before, we have about 900 students. Actually, I can't even say or so. We have exactly 900 students today. Over 600 boarders. It's hard for me to express really how incredible the kids are that we have. I mean, if you're a teacher, you should know, you coming here. First of all, the kids they are highly proficient in English. They're young people of great ambition. They want to go to top 20 Western universities. Lots of people want to do things. Not all people who want to do them really commit to doing them. Our kids do. They work a lot. I mean, it's not atypical for a kid in our high school to be taking 8 or 10 or 12 or maybe more APs. These are very hardworking kids in a culture that really values education reveres education, right? The whole entire culture is based on the idea of self-improvement and self-growth, self-actualization. And you really see that in the students we have here. So they're driven, they're ambitious. I say both of those words in the most positive tones, I could express them. And they're also a very diverse talent. We have great musicians and actors and athletes and kids who want to do international competitions and kids who they're certainly heavily focused on their intellectual growth and development, but not just. They're interested in their heads and their hearts and their bodies and really all the different areas of growth that a really great school can provide for students. So a little bit of the views of Park Lane Harbour city sites. I'll start with the bottom middle one. That's not quite the view from my apartment, but it's pretty close to the view from my apartment. Where Park Lane Harbour is a district of the city of Huizhou. You can see down in the little map down there on the bottom right. We're about an hour and a half. We're in the city of Huizhou, but we're way far on the edge of it. And then we're about an hour and a half from Shenzhen and about an hour and a half from Hong Kong. I think we're just about perfectly situated in this regard, where we're quiet enough that it's you can see it's a beautiful beach community, a planned beach community that's being developed to service places like Shenzhen and Hong Kong. Guangzhou is not on the map, ancient city of Canton, but it's about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours away as well. And Huizhou. And so it's easy to get into the city. You can do all the things there. And here in Park Lane Harbour, we're not really in the country either. We're somewhere in between city and country. But if you traveled to the east of Park Lane Harbour, you would find yourself kind of out really in very quiet, beautiful kind of rolling hills, places to bike and run and do those things. So I lived for a year in Shenzhen. It's a great city. But cities in China aren't small. They're busy and there's a lot going on there. I like that we have the quiet of the beach when we want it, and nature where we are. I think that's very important for us as people and for kids, in their educational their educational setting. But we really do have the best of all worlds here in Park Lane Harbour. I think it is my opportunity now to introduce Dr. Kevin Jaramillo as the vice head of school. And the head of high school. He's also been the head of middle school here. I mentioned before that we have a great family going here. It's not a great, what a lame word. I'd give myself a D- as an English teacher for using a word like great. Actually, kind of what we mean by that is energetic and warm and nurturing and again, ambitious and expectant. And a lot of those positive traits come from the guy you're about to hear from, Dr. Jaramillo, who provides an awful lot of energy here at our school. KJ, over to you.
Thank you, John. I was a little surprised that John didn't open up with a song or a guitar, because that's what you would find sometimes when you come on campus. As much as I like to bring the energy, I want to echo what John's saying. Like we're a family, and we like to create that feel for each and every one of you and all of our students and parents as well. So I want to say that I am excited about those that are meeting us live today, because we get this opportunity to kind of share, and we'll have questions and answers at the end. And for those that are watching it canned, well, welcome to Park Lane Harbour. We talk about Summer Institute a lot as a new faculty coming in. And what we mean by that is that all new teachers and all the administration, the chairs, everybody ascend into one school during the summer, right before we start the whole process of let's get busy at work in our own buildings. And so it really gives us the opportunity to create that network that the school is so proud to have. With 12, 13 schools in the network, you get to meet those that are teaching the same subject that you are. And this is a great opportunity to expand and meet those that are doing what you're doing in other places and create those ideas and share and have those opportunities. So we're really fortunate to have that opportunity here at Basis Network. You'll see in the pictures, I mean, you get that training, and it's so much, it's so big. But after the Summer Institute and you're learning about each other and learning about the school and the network, it really breaks it down a little bit further. And you'll see that we'll send you back to your school site. You'll come to Park Lane Harbour. We're going to work with you on on-site training where you'll meet all the returning faculty, and you're going to be able to meet and understand and get to know one another and build a family that we're so thriving to have. One other thing that I'd like to mention, though, is that in the Summer Institute, and in the on-site, this is when that professional development really starts for you. And it starts on day one as soon as you land, because that's where you start that growth, and really want to highlight how important it is to have this opportunity. Professional development, when you come in, we always say when you leave, you're going to be just that much of a stronger, better teacher than you were when you came. John and I always mention this, and I want to mention it again, is that we say passion is learning is very important, but passion, the teaching is our passion. Teaching is really important for us, and it is our passion, but the priority really does center on students learning. And that says a lot, and we want you to know that that's really truly how we feel. Moving forward on the professional development, you're going to meet every Thursday here at Basis Park Lane Harbour about working with your departments, working with divisional, working with the network, and then working as a all school faculty each one Thursday a month, each Thursday every month. So it's a good opportunity for you to come and be part of this family. Excited about meeting each and every one of you. Hopefully we'll get a chance to in the near future. Thank you.
Kevin, John, thanks for those insights. One thing that I would add, I think Kevin had inferred this is, Park Lane Harbour really does function as it's this great family feel to it. I was at Park Lane Harbour when we opened up. It's one of my favorite locations and dear to my heart. But one of the things, one of the last times I was there, something that really stood out is, as we're heading into the weekend, many individuals from the school kind of gather together, and there's individuals from the band, individuals from the school that kind of form a band, including John, and it's a great time to kind of get together. And they had music going on, playing some music, and a chance to kind of chat with everybody. It's just right there on the beach, and a really great family, close-knit feeling that you do have. One of the other things that I'll say is John had mentioned that a number of acceptances to some very prominent schools, Ivy League schools, and interesting, 2 years ago, then those individuals that were accepted to Harvard, the school in Park Lane Harbour had about 50% of all of the students that were accepted to Harvard came from Park Lane Harbour. So really some great academics that are there, and some kudos to the team. All right, so I do want to talk a little bit about the network as a whole. So, Park Lane Harbour is part of the Basis Curriculum Schools network, which includes 16 international bilingual schools in Asia. They also work directly with the 6 Basis independent schools that we have in the United States as well. You can see the different locations that we do have there. Something that's interesting is depending on what kind of an environment that you're looking for, we have schools that are in a city environment. We have schools that are in a beautiful beach resort community like Park Lane Harbour, but a good variety of places. So depending on where people are. It is a network that we work together closely with, and things are founded across the network on the Basis curriculum. So the Basis curriculum is it is an accelerated curriculum, something that I think is very important. So as you consider a teaching opportunity with us, being really prepared for and very passionate about it, working with students at an accelerated level. So it is an AP infused liberal arts curriculum where we're really focused on helping the students develop the skills that will help them be effective in their future endeavors and really be participants in a 21st century global workforce, and really helping them learn how to pursue their passions. So it is a classroom experience, really helping them again develop the skills of inquiry and asking questions and engaging the teachers as well as engaging their fellow students. The curriculum has been developed collaboratively over 26 years. It's a living curriculum. We continue to evolve and develop and add new components based on what is relevant and what is needed and the skills that people need to have. Again, AP infused curriculum in high school, liberal arts focus in the middle school, great depth of math and science curriculum. We have probably one of the strongest social sciences programs that is available to students. And then the primary, we do have a co-teaching model with what we call subject expert teachers and learning enhancement teachers. So you have the focus on great instruction and delivery, as well as exceptional focus on the individual student learning needs. Early childhood is a play-based learning model that we do have, where students really learn to, again, kind of, go about, hands-on learning about different types of things. In terms of the results of what that means, John had also kind of noticed some of the results. 97% of students accepted into top 50 universities or top 50 US universities, as well as other international equivalents. 67% of our graduates across the entire network are accepted into top 30 US universities and international equivalents. So it's something that really stands out in the type of students that you're working with, as well as really sets that bar of expectations of what it is that we're looking to do and create in individuals who move on to some really exceptional opportunities in their educational endeavors. With that, I will turn things over to my colleague, Michael Holtquist, who is a recruiter that works directly with Park Lane Harbour. He'll touch more on some of the details about working with us in China, as well as in our schools there. So Mike, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you, Tim. I want to introduce myself. My name's Mike Holtquist. I'm our international recruiter here, working with our school here in Park Lane Harbour. And as you're coming to this webinar, it's probably what I want to teach in China. Well, with China, it's very convenient, it's very modern, but it's got that tradition as well. These cities our school's in, they're very, very modern cities with kind of cutting edge technology, extremely safe environment, easy to get around, but you still have kind of that new culture to get immersed in and experience that type of stuff that has been around for thousands and thousands of years. So it's that blending of kind of old and the new. Part of that culture as well is that in China, there is very much a high value placed on education. And that comes across as John and Kevin talked about with the students. These are students that really want to learn. They want to be there, and they will challenge. They will challenge you as a teacher, and they will push you as a teacher, which is wonderful because that's how we continue to get better, and it's how we continue to grow as teachers and grow as a school. Additionally, China, it is a fairly inexpensive place to live. There is a lower cost of living in China compared to a lot of the rest of the world as well. And so as a teacher, you do have that chance to live kind of that lifestyle in a little lower cost of living area. So those are things that really make kind of teaching in China just an absolutely amazing experience, both kind of as a chance to teach highly motivated students, but also just experience that new culture. It's kind of, well, why teach with Basis International Schools? So kind of with China, what makes Basis really stand out? And it really is, I can't reiterate this enough, everyone's talked about, it is those colleagues you work with. It's those other teachers, it's those other students that you work with. They're what makes the environment there. These are just some absolutely exceptional teachers from all across the world, get a chance to really grow and learn from each other and really work together. That's what we really do focus on, is teachers having that collaborative model. So being able to observe each other and learn from each other and take from best practice from around the world to continue to grow. Again, as everyone's talked about with the school, it is that very academic culture. The students, they do have those high expectations, and we as teachers want to help them meet that. And so they will challenge us to be able to push them to where they want to be. And it's our job to help them do that. We create the environment that allows them to achieve those kind of goals these students have set for themselves. And again, it's that network. With Basis, each school is not an island. You are part of this larger network. Like Tim talked about, we do have 16 schools across China. We have 6 schools here in the United States as well. And so each school is allowed to really do a lot of things that are unique to them and unique to their needs of their students and their teachers, but they're not left on their own for that. You have that network as a whole to, again, really help those students kind of meet those goals that they really do have. Like you saw, the results that Basis students have achieved have been wonderful. And the students, they put in that effort to do that. And it's as teachers, our job to foster that and develop that. And I think that's the students really help to bring Basis to where it wants to be and help us as teachers to continue to grow and develop as a teachers. And so with that, as well as also with kind of the expat package, there's teaching internationally, there are a lot more components than a lot of times teachers experience in their home country. So first off are the travel benefits. With Basis, we do book your flights to and from China, beginning and the end of your assignment, as well as within your assignment. There's that return home allowance. You can travel throughout your time there, as well as getting a visa Our visa and our HR teams are second to none, and they just do an amazing job of helping teachers from their initial steps of accepting position with basis to help get them that visa, help book those flights, and do all that stuff with them. When you get there, your housing is provided. It's fully covered housing, fully furnished housing, as well as if a teacher wants, there is the option as well to kind of go out and find your own apartment as well. Additionally, for teachers with children, there's a tuition benefit. So we provide tuition for up to 2 children. So that way your children can go to school with you, as well as we provide kind of our teachers and their children kind of breakfast and lunch every school day at the school. And as John said, these aren't what I remember with the school cafeteria when I was going to school. This is just some exceptional school food that is served there at the school every day. As well as we do cover your health insurance, so it covers you both in China as well outside of China as well. And then as well on top of the salary, there's also some additional benefits as well. Every year there's a 10% retirement benefit that all the teachers receive. There's a completion bonus at the end of their assignment, as well as there are some additional kind of bonus opportunities as well that teachers have the potential to earn as well. Like I was saying, that HR team is second to none. And again, I cannot stress how much they do for all the teachers. And that's one thing we hear from teachers with us here at Basis all the time, is just the support that they've received through the entire process. The first thing they do is, again, immediately upon accepting a position, the HR team helps get you that visa. They walk you through that process. They help with the whole process, getting you the correct Z teaching visa for China, the correct spouse visa, the correct dependent visas, that type of stuff. After the visa is all completed, they'll book your flights for you. So that way, kind of you can say, hey, these are the dates that work for me and my family to leave. Here's the airport that works, and they'll book those flights for you. And then we'll have someone meet you at the airport. So you're not just getting into China and saying, okay, I don't know where to go, but someone's there to take you directly to your apartment, directly to school. And when you get to your apartment, it's set up for you. They set up kind of all your essentials. They are fully furnished. As you can see here, there's even a little welcome packet that they always put into the apartments for new teachers. So at the end of that flight they have moved to the new house, that it is a smooth transition for themselves. Within those first few days of arriving, there's other things that HR does as well, as they assist with setting up banking, setting up your phone. They take you to finish up your residency permit. They show us around town to show, here's the restaurants, here's the shopping, here's the groceries, all that type of stuff, to really make sure that as teachers you're set up for kind of success when you get there, and it is as smooth transition as possible for yourself. And so what is Basis looking for in a teacher? There are some very specific things that here at Basis we do look for our teachers. The first we look for teachers have a degree in their subject area. So we look for teachers that really are masters in their field. So for all of our English language arts, you look for people that have a degree in English. All of our history teachers look for a degree in history, math teachers, a degree in math, that type of thing. Additionally, as part of getting you a visa, all of our teachers do have to have at least 2 years of full-time teaching experience after graduation. As well as one thing, we always force is that excitement, that passion for teaching. Someone who really wants to foster that desire to learn into their students, and really can connect the students to help them really kind of ask the right questions and really begin to learn really for themselves. As well as kind of work together. As teachers, we want to be very collaborative. We're not on an island. And just because you're doing something in your class, we want other people to come in and learn from you and have you go learn from other teachers as well. Because again, that's how we get better. And one of the great things about teaching internationally is those teachers from across the world bringing their experiences with them and be able to work together to kind of really see what everyone's doing and highlight all those strengths that we all have. Again, there are those very high academic standards, and it's how do we help the students get there, and how do we get them to really kind of foster that interest and that passion they have for learning? How do we foster that in the right ways? And I'll be honest, this is hard. It does take a lot of work, and our teachers, they do put in a lot of time and a lot of effort to do that. But at the end of the day, it is extremely rewarding. And you can, when you see that growth your students have, when you see that growth that you have as a teacher, it really kind of makes all that hard work worth it. As well as kind of like I've been talking about before, is there are some visa restrictions, and we want to make sure every teacher is there on the correct visa. And so making sure we can get every teacher the correct visa is really important. And so we have to also make sure we take to take into account those visa restrictions that may be in place. So we need to make sure we can get everyone the correct visas. And so kind of as you look to go to teach with Basis International Schools, some of the things to really keep in mind of is the students. They're local students. And so as an international school, the students, they are from the local area. And so with that, with students, English is their second language. Like John was saying, is their language level, it is incredibly impressive. But they are second language learners. So we have to be cognizant of that, of how do we make sure that we are expressing something in a way that's right for the students, both linguistically and culturally as well. With that, as well as is flexibility. One thing I can guarantee about Basis is we're always changing, and we're always looking to get better. And so with that, things do change. We do want teachers to be flexible as we do continue to grow and expand, of how do we grow and expand and improve. And so what we did 5 years ago is very different than what we did today, and it'll be very different 5 years from now. And so being open to that is really important. As well as with families coming to Basis, you want to make sure that children coming with you be ready for that Basis education. Make sure that this would be the right school for them, and they're going to be able to be successful there, both academically and culturally as well. We do have a number of teachers with families that have done absolutely wonderful with us, and it's so important that it's right for everybody. So that's something you want to make sure is make sure your kids are ready for that. Yep. So let me pass it back here to Tim. So Tim, we talk a little bit about kind of how to stay in contact and how to find some more information about us.
Right. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so we actually have, for those of you seeking some additional information, there's a lot of information on our schools, including Park Lane Harbour. Please feel free to see the information that we do post through some of our social channels, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram. We do have videos on YouTube. Please feel free to explore some of the different things. We have a blog as well. So our blog, you can see the address there. You can link to it from our career site. There's a lot of insights that teachers have shared about their experience teaching with us and what is it like to be in Park Lane Harbour. You can also join our talent community to hear about different events, happenings at the schools, things that are coming along, positions as they open up for the next school year. Please feel free to to connect with us across those. And there's a lot of good information and insights from teachers, again, sharing their own experience and stories that you can find across our social channels. With that, we will transition to Q&A. So we've had a handful of questions come in. I'll go ahead and invite John and Kevin to rejoin us again. And then depending on what the question is, we'll have the appropriate person respond. While some of these questions, we do have a couple more coming in, but one thing that I did want to ask, maybe have the two of you highlight specifically, is two questions about the cost of living specifically in Park Lane Harbour, because living costs can vary from city to city within China. If you can speak to that, and then maybe speak more specifically to what housing looks like in Park Lane Harbour. Start off with those two questions.
Sure. I'll talk about cost of living, and KJ, I'll let you talk about housing. We'll share the wealth a little bit. It is very cheap to live in China. It is true that, as Tim said, if you live in the middle of Shanghai, it's different from living out here in Park Lane Harbour. So it's a country with a very low cost of living, and then where because we're not in the heart of a major city, it's even a little bit better here. I don't know how to say it enough, right? Our packages are great. We pay well here, and the spending power is enormous. Okay, so you can come to Park Lane Harbour or China generally, live a really kind of fantastic life, travel a lot and go out and do a lot of things. But also, if you're interested in, and I know we all are, and it's important that we all think this way, banking some cash for whatever your next thing is going to be too. It's just it's a very easy financial place to live, and made easier still by very kind of generous packages, employment packages.
As far as the housing, it's a beautiful view. You saw some of the pictures, and John wasn't kidding when he said his apartment's really close to that area. We both live right on the beach. We talk about it as being $1 million views that you wouldn't get anywhere in the world, but yet you get that opportunity here. So if you're from Florida or you're definitely in San Diego, you probably wouldn't be able to afford something like this, but you get positioned there for your housing, and it's beautiful. You just get to go and look around. You'll have a realtor take you to some vacant apartments, and you're going to be able to look for yourself and choose the one that is right for you. It's 1 bedrooms to 2 bedrooms, you name it, they probably have it. So it's a good place. If you're bringing your children, you'll be on the beach on the weekends and building sandcastles, I'm sure. We definitely love to go out there as a faculty on Friday evenings, throw the Frisbee and hang out with one another. So it's really a great feel. We're about a mile away from the school, if that. I know that getting around is quite easy. We are in a smaller, I would say almost a village, where we don't even have a stoplight. We just have one stop sign, I believe. So it's a great place. It's easy to get around. You can walk to school or get a scooter and make your way that way to school. So I know that even John and I both have scooters. We don't really need a car. We can take a bus into Shenzhen if we needed to, or get a Didi, which is kind of like an Uber, to get into the city when we want to.
We do only have one stop sign, but we should have more than one. There's plenty of traffic here in Park Lane Harbour. It is a beach place, a very popular place. People like coming here to visit, and there is, they don't do things small here in China. So when they decided they were going to plan this beach community, they built an incredible number of apartments and infrastructure to support it, and that's great for the community. It's really great for us as teachers. It means a lot of inventory, kind of in the housing market, really good inventory in the housing market, and our housing stipends are ample to cover it. So it's really it's a pretty great setup there. But if you think about it and you come see us, bring like another stop sign, maybe 2. We have occasional traffic hassles here in town.
And sunscreen. Don't forget your sunscreen.
Yes.
Great, thanks for that. There was a question about transportation, so I appreciate you answering some of those pieces. Another question is, in terms of, does the school support, does the school provide support for bringing partners? So if you guys can want to speak to, family coming over, and then I'll maybe touch on some nuances relative to the question of partners.
Sure. I mean, we more people than not all, but more people than not that come certainly to our school, and I'm guessing it's the same at all basis schools, do come with some types of dependents, and whether it's children or partners or actual spouses. So that's pretty common, and HR is supportive of kind of working that through and out visa wise, and in other ways. Kind of marriage status can impact that just too, in terms of the way visas are issued and how that all goes. But we do have quite a few people who come here with their partners. We are a family, and we like families, right? So we know that one of the things that makes this whole experience work is when you come and bring someone else with you and are sharing it with them. So yeah, it's quite common for people to come with dependents of any of a variety of I don't know, configurations, for lack of a better word.
To kind of follow up on John's, I would probably say, like, most of the times when they do come, they're either working remotely, or the fiance, the spouse, or whoever might be working on their own time. So it's not where you come here perhaps and try to find a job that the city wouldn't really hold that kind of employment for you. So oftentimes they may work at a Shenzhen or something, or nearby, but because we're smaller, it doesn't always lend itself. So if someone's working remotely, it works, or if you're retired, it also works.
Good point, KJ. Thanks for adding that.
I would add specifically, so in terms of working in our schools, Micah touched on, it is very important for us that we do things appropriately and getting the right visas for individuals. One thing I'll say is for family coming over, we are able to get a spousal visa and visa for dependent students. But other individuals that if somebody is not a spouse, meaning somebody that has been married, you do have to have that marriage certificate to be able to get a spousal visa. So individuals that are not in that specific situation, visas would be difficult unless say somebody had their own separate visa to be able to come over. So I just wanted to note that it's how things are kind of structured and handled in China.
How does BASIS determine kind of student readiness for a school for children coming with their parents?
Yeah, so Michael, you mentioned, or someone mentioned that there is a tuition benefit for two students. I mean, I will say it's a hard school to come to, right? The expectations are very high. I'll say a little bit more about the accelerated program kind of before we sign off here. But generally speaking, we are going to accept the children of the teachers that we hire. I will say it's quite a bit easier for students to integrate in the lower in primary school. For most kids, it could be very, very difficult to integrate into the BASIS curriculum in 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Just really by the time kids in our program get there, they're usually multiple grade levels ahead in multiple things, So, but I think for younger kids, it's interesting. They're often in classrooms where there's staff kids or other local expat kids who are trying to learn Chinese and get going that way, and there's local Chinese kids who are trying to learn English and get going in that direction. So it's a pretty rich environment that way. We often, not always, but we often do admission testing for the kids of teachers, not because it's about accepting them or not, but because we want to have a good sense of what level they will be at and what challenges they might encounter sort of as they join us. But for sure, joining early is better than joining later in the program as a child, as a student.
Thank you. And I guess kind of going off on that as well for the students, what languages are offered there at Park Lane Harbour?
Yep. So we're very, this is going to sound strange because we're all about English learning culture and we're doing it all the time, but that is the foreign language that we're most interested in for our kids, right? They want to go to Western universities and they need high proficiency, habitual proficiency, and also academic proficiency in English. We have some Spanish here. Depends a little bit on interest. Depends on if we have a teacher for it or not. But really not any kind of formal other foreign languages other than English.
Thank you. And kind of with that as well, you mentioned English is essentially that foreign language for a lot of our students. How does BASIS adapt the American curriculum to a predominantly Chinese student body?
This is a great question. I want to sort of say it carefully. We're aware of it, but we don't. We expect the kids to adapt to the American curriculum because that's kind of where they're heading, right? We're very respectful, of course, of their tradition, their culture. They are learning Chinese language and Chinese culture here, but these are kids. They don't want us to bend to them. Actually, they want to bend to us because their goal, is to be a top performing, high level candidate at the top schools in the world against anybody, not just against other Chinese kids. And so we're pretty unwavering in that, and the kids really respond to it and they commit to that. And I don't really ever perceive friction in that. It's something that they want, right? They want. They want to be pushed on by this curriculum that is developing them into top level college candidates. So we're mindful of it. I mentioned I teach AP Lit. It might be more common here in my AP Lit class for me to make a reference to Christianity that maybe, which I would expect an American kid to get, not because they're Christian or not, because of a Western kind of outlook and orientation to literature that might not immediately settle on the class quite the same way. I might have to explain something more about it than I might in a different sort of setting. But really, for the most part, we just charge on because the tests they take and the colleges they want to go to, they just charge on.
I was just going to say that we do have speech and debate on campus and throughout all our BASIS schools, but we do go and compete against the best. We did Harvard last year at their speech and debate competition, and we got a good look at what they'll be charged against when they're applying for the university. So our students know what to expect and what they're going after. So I echo what John is saying, that when our students are sitting down, they know what the end goal is, and that's exciting.
Thank you. Perfect. And kind of building off the classroom as well, what are some of the strengths that BASIS is looking for in their teachers? And how are teachers evaluated there here at Basis?
I'll talk about strengths a little bit. I mean, I'm pretty sure Tim mentioned this idea of SET, subject expert teachers, right? So we want people first and foremost that are kind of experts in their field, whatever that is. We're teaching at a high level in many of our subject areas in high school. We don't even have non-AP offerings, right? They're all advanced offerings. And in middle school, for example, they're taking discrete sciences, physics, chem, and bio, which is not typical for, for middle school students around the world. So there's an expertise, an academic expertise that we certainly look for. I think arrogantly and probably incorrectly, I always feel like I can hire people who are pretty academically sound on paper, but that's really not enough here. There's some other things you have to be. I mean, first you have to be a mentor and a guide and an advisor. Like, kids remember a lot of what you teach them, of course, but they don't nearly remember as much of what you teach them as they remember who you are, the kind of model you were, the example you were in front of them. We want our kids to be, great candidates for college, and we want them to be academically successful when they're there. But more importantly than that, we want them to be great people when they're there, and so there's a character element to being a model and an example in an environment when the kids see us all the time because it's a boarding school. That's very important. That's harder to perceive. You can't perceive that on paper. You perceive that in interviews, and that's a more personal thing. There is a real hunger for growth here. Again, I think Tim used the phrase accelerated curriculum. It's not just an accelerated curriculum. It's a philosophy of acceleration, right? If you're a teacher and you come here for 3 years, we want you to leave having felt like you grew 5 years. If you're a kid and you've been here for 5 or 6 years and you're a 7th grader, we want you to kind of be like a 9th grader or a 10th grader. We really believe part of the Basis philosophy is that, from really high expectations come loftier outcomes. People rise up and into those higher expectations. So, this means in terms of teacher evaluation and professional development, and we're in classrooms all the time. We're 3 weeks into school. I didn't look at the number, KJ, this morning. Maybe you did, but we're well over 100 classroom observations already. These are not gotcha moments. There is some accountability, and I guess having people in your classroom means you want to do well, but it's really not about that. It's about developing self-reflective practice, giving feedback to people. We have kind of a phrase we kind of use sometimes here, a teacher-led culture of professional growth and excellence, right? We really believe we can teach and grow each other better than we can grow from the outside. Outside perspective is great too. But if you're a new teacher, we'll probably be in your classroom 4, 5, 6 times by the middle of October. You'll have had a number of conversations about a range of things, from maybe just kind of mechanical, technical things that we do to opportunities you could maybe take more advantage of in your classroom setting. Teachers are evaluated twice a year based on those observations, not just those observations, but those observations and their response to the coaching that they get and their kind of willingness to engage in that process of self-reflection and growth. Probably the most important single attribute that you need as a teacher to thrive here is coachability. You could be I've taught for a long time. I taught at 2 of the best schools in America. Okay. And I've never worked harder as a teacher than I work here. And I've worked with great kids in my life. Okay. And so if you're not coachable and you're not responding somewhat to this philosophy of acceleration, you can still do really well here, but you'll thrive here if you bring that to it. So an expert in your field, preparedness to be more than just an academic teacher, to be a guide, an advisor, and a mentor, and an example and a model for kids of how to do it right here at school and out there in the world. And then a person of some self-reflection and coachability and flexibility. If you have those things, boy, you'd kill it here. You'd get to the end of your time here, and you'd be in a really great place in your profession for sure. And I don't know, personally, you'd grow as a person a lot too.
Kind of with this accelerated curriculum, about how much time can students expect to spend outside of classrooms studying and that type of stuff beyond their normal school day?
Yeah, so our academic day runs from 8 to about 4:30, depending on what division you're in and what your schedule is like. And I think the kids do a lot of work outside of class. I mean, if you're a high school kid and you're taking 3 or 4 or 5 APs, you could have 5, 6 hours worth of homework, maybe more, right? Also, I mentioned really, in middle school, it wouldn't be like that. It'd probably be an hour to 2 hours worth of homework. But these are full lives, these kids leave, right? So they're also in clubs. Many are involved in multiple clubs. They're playing on our teams. And then I said before, there's this kind of idea of self-growth and self-improvement. So many of our kids, when they go home on the weekends, or if they're a day student or at night, they're working on other things. They're working on their English TOEFL exams. They're working with an outside tutor in physics. They're working on, I have a kid in class right now who's working on this international essay writing sort of contest. Kid spends a crazy amount of time on this because he I don't know how to say it better. He just digs it. He likes it, and so these kids are really, they're highly engaged. Probably in a very, very truthful moment, which I'm going to have with you right now. When I was in the States, I was working with very talented kids who I sometimes wished were a little bit more outcome oriented, that where, and I don't mean that as a criticism. I just thought, yeah, there's so much ability here, can you kind of stretch that ability out into some other things? I wished for more sometimes. And sometimes here in China, I wish they would dial it down a little bit sometimes. I mean, they're going all the time and they're very outcome oriented. And, we want this to be a formative time, a transformative time, but we also want it to be a joyous time. It's a joyous time of life, school, and our kids are very, very driven. We take advantage of it. We enjoy it as teachers. It's fantastic. But sometimes I wish they would come the other way. So for me, as a career educator, it's been kind of an interesting learning experience of two sides of education with really talented kids, where I wish both sides would come a little bit more into the middle where I sit as a leader and an educator, right? I want you to be a top-notch student, but I also want you to enjoy your time and enjoy your classmates and enjoy these other activities and grow in other ways beyond the classroom. It's a pretty good setup that way.
Kind of, it's one of our final questions was, with Park Lane Harbour, you said it's not Shenzhen, it's not Guangzhou. What are some of the things teachers should know about Park Lane Harbour, kind of good and bad, so they know what to expect when they get there?
I think the good about it all is just, you're going to step on a campus and you're going to see John and I being just as active as you. We want to know those students. You're going to see John eating lunch with some students. You're going to find me at breakfast, chatting it up with a small group, planning out some Stuco events. You're going to find us all around campus. And when he's saying we want to be in your classrooms, again, not the aha moments, but really to support you and make you only better. So we really thrive on that. And when students see us around, we're always asking, when's your birthday? When's your next performance? Off campus, are you still going to go on that golfing tournament? And we're really involved in the lives of faculty and the staff and the students. And that's the way we want to be as leaders. We want to lead by example, and we expect that of our teachers. Come out in the hallway and meet your students and greet them into the classroom. So we're really big on that opportunities. As far as negatives, man, it is really hard to say. We just hired a new teacher this year who jumped on his road bike and rode from here to Shenzhen and back on a Saturday afternoon. And he is a professional rider, but he was like, "What a great ride!" So if you're looking for a big city, I'd probably say this isn't going to be the school for you. That would probably, if it hinders anything, that's what I would probably mention as a bad thing. But I don't see it that way at all, because I want to go and climb the mountain behind the school, and I want to race down that afternoon and jump in the ocean and kind of rinse off and relax a little bit too. So it brings a lot of joy living here. I guess the one thing that John kind of had mentioned, but perhaps didn't say, is that, we're going to work 181 days, and then we're going to work every single one of those days. But in that summertime is when that relief comes. And as you have that financial package that you've saved so much for, you're going on that nice vacation that you want to take. And then you're going to come back refreshed and revived and ready to go again, because you can't wait to get to the next set of students that you're actually going to have again, that maybe mirror, but perhaps could be better. So I think that's an exciting time. John?
Yeah, just a couple of things. You mentioned the idea of the big city. I think that big cities lack big intimacy, right? I mean, there's a lot about them that's fun. It's a great place to go, and we have great access to cities here. But I do think this is a more kind of intimate, familiar experience. I lived in Shenzhen. I was based at the international school there for the first year. I was in China. I had a great experience. These are great all the basis schools are terrific. But this one is a little bit different in that it wasn't common for me to run into my colleagues in Shenzhen. You know, when kind of school ended, the big city, people kind of spread out and went where they went and kind of where they lived and all that kind of thing. So, you know, that's a very good and high achieving school, and this is not a cut on them. It just lacked some of the familiarity or some of the intimacy of camaraderie. I think that we get here. So it's not a big city, but it's a big experience that way. We like that, you know, and again, it's to me, there is really incredible access to, you can be in the middle of nowhere if you want, you can be here in the middle of this pretty busy beach community if you want, living on the ocean and walking the Greenway and doing whatever you do, just kind of having some quiet time, and you can be in a very big city pretty easily.
Thank you both very much. I think kind of the last question, I think, Tim, this is more for you, but when can teachers begin to apply, and when can they find out about kind of the openings here at Park Lane Harbour?
Yeah, obviously we're at the start of the school year right now. John and Kevin will be assessing within the school over the course of the next few months. Individuals who are at the last year of their contract will go through contract renewals, and we'll be posting positions based on some of the growth and expansion of the school, maybe some positions that we know about earlier. But in terms of identifying what positions are available, we will post all positions to our career site. So maybe let me just kind of share the contact info as well. You can go to our career site. I'll back this up just a little bit, but you can go to our career site at jobs.basisinternationalschools.com to see any and all current openings that are available. You can also create a profile there. You can set a kind of a job alert for positions that do open up as we move forward in through contract renewals and new positions do come up. But any additional insight, John, what you have in terms of knowing when additional positions would be posted for Park Lane Harbour specifically?
Sure. So we've actually posted some positions where, as Tim said at the very beginning of our things, but we do know we have right now, today, we have some openings in English and possibly in computer science and possibly in drama and high school drama. I think I'll know a lot more kind of in the next 2 weeks, but I also, I'm a shameless, I'll talk to anybody. I'm always building my Rolodex. Okay. So, you know, if you're on this webinar and you're kind of thinking about this, I know we'll have more openings than the ones we have posted now. And I'm just kind of assembling people, you know, that I think are interested in and inclined to do this. And I mean, the best job search for me is one that begins with a phone call from me to somebody, where I'm saying, hey, I met you at, or we had a conversation at, maybe the time wasn't right then. And, but the time's right now, let's talk, you know. So, of course, you know, looking at the options on the job site, which expands out into the whole network, of course, is important. But if you kind of like what you've heard here, or you're kind of intrigued by what you've heard here, do be in touch. I'm really eager to meet other folks who might be interested in this great cause we have going on here at Park Lane Harbour.
And there's another question for those already working and living in China. Is there support for moving within the country? Absolutely. We do provide, again, same thing, airfare getting to the new city where you would be working, or a train ticket if it's, you know, depending on the location, what's most convenient. There's also a moving allowance for you to be able to, you know, maybe ship goods or bring extra luggage with you to your new location, or also using that for kind of settling allowance if you need to, you know, cover things for setting up a different phone, or setting up internet access at your apartment, things like that may make sense. So there was a question actually about compensation. Is there a salary matrix, or is everyone at a fixed salary? Do you guys want to maybe take a stab at answering that one?
Yeah, sure. There's a salary bands. So there is sort of a matrix of sorts that is initially, the initial bands are set up based on experience, and then there's room to move within the bands, or maybe just outside of the bands as experience grows, as academic credential grows. We also were interested, you know, we want our kids to go to top universities. In some cases, we're also eager to be adding teachers, you know, who've gone to top universities that way. So there are salary bands as a starting point that begin the very first initial placement on that just has to do purely with experience, and then grows from there. Experience at what kind of schools? Experience and at what kind of levels, academic credential, et cetera. So there is it's a banded system is how it's set up.
Thank you. Thanks for that. Well, again, John, Kevin, Mike, thank you so much for joining, providing the insights. This has been great. Again, for those interested in opportunities, please feel free to submit your applications through our career site. They'll be reviewed by our recruiting team. And those that really, meet the qualifications, we'll be having initial conversations. In terms of the hiring process, we have a pretty thorough hiring process that it does include individuals with John and or Kevin or another head of division, as well as a department chair for a subject that you may be teaching. So it's a very thorough hiring process, but the initial step is submitting that application through our career site. Again, just to reiterate that, I'll back that up one more time. It's jobs.basisinternationalschools.com, and I appreciate everybody joining us today.
Hey, can I leave everyone with, I think you'll be amused by this if you're sort of listening still. So right now I'm technically late for class, right? So I appointed one of the kids to start my class. I teach AP Lit. It's 10 kids, super smart kids. Probably, we're only 3 weeks in, but I bet they're going to be the best class I've ever had, like in terms of every sort of kid in there. And so I have this great kid, and I sent him a note. Okay, I'm backed up in this meeting I've got. Would you mind just kind of get it rolling? Break the class into 2 groups. One group is going to read Matthew Arnold's Dover Beach. The other group is going to read Tennyson's Ulysses. And so they started about, I don't know, 20 minutes ago or something. And I've been, I just got this text from it as I'm sitting here. Sorry, I'm fessing up. I looked at a text while we were on the webinar, and it's a kid, and he says, my group's reading Tennyson. What a great line. And then he writes to me the last line of this Tennyson poem, which says, this great Greek hero, Odysseus, talking about his life of heroism and the people he's been with and all that. And he says that he wants to be around people who, the last line says, to strive, to seek, to find, and never to yield. Okay, and so the 17-year-old kid writes to me and says, what a great line, to strive, to seek, to find, and never to yield. And it couldn't be better for our webinar here, right? You've heard about how we strive here at our school. I promise you, we're always seeking the key, how to do it better. We say we want to be one of the best schools anywhere, but we do the work. We're doing the work to actually be one of the best schools anywhere. We do find a lot of answers. We do find a lot of great people. I bet some of you are on this webinar, and we'll be talking more. But most importantly, not to yield, right? We really believe in what we're doing. And there's a lot of velocity here, a lot of acceleration towards that goal and outcome. So mostly I wanted to just tell the anecdote. I just thought it was great that this kid wrote to me in the middle of the thing. But then it occurred to me as I was thinking about it that it's actually perfect for this webinar and the kind of things we're talking about in our network. So thanks all for your time. And like I said, I hope you've heard a lot from KJ and me and Tim and others, but we hope this will just be the beginning of a longer conversation with many of you.